I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but then I'm an Asian man, so I'm used to getting hate, especially by you racists, because so many of you have not watched the trial or even understand the facts about the trial because, well, you're racist and you don't want to learn the facts. You rather stay ignorant so you can keep your racist worldviews, especially against Asians.
He would do this because he understood people. He understood that we are a generation of people who simply listen to headlines, listen to flashy things, and don't hear the rest of the story. He understood that if he could tell just small parts of the story in the way that people thought that they understood them and didn't hear the rest of the story, then they would believe things one certain way. And the way that he did it was fascinating. It was interesting. People started to understand that that's the way we have to start listening. Because if we only hear part of the story, then we can never get to the truth.
Huh, that sounds familiar. That only shows to me that so many of you did not even bother to understand the trial because his closing arguments refuted so many of you on here because all you have is emotions and you don't care about facts. You just want your confirmation bias to be racist to Asians.
But when you Monday morning quarterback and come back and look at the situation and say, well, why? You know what? They could have done this. They could have done this. They could have done this. Because that's what the state's case is. Think about it. How many times did you hear throughout the course of this trial the great state of South Carolina say the following sentence? They could have done this. 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 They don't have evidence to offer, but they have fear, passion, emotion, and they want to get that out of you. They want that fear, passion, and emotion, and for you to ignore the law. We do not get to take the law the way that we want it to be. We take the law the way that it is. Let me tell you that again. We don't get to take the way that we want it to be. The solicitor can't say, well, I want it to be illegal for a shopkeeper to go out of the store. Shopkeepers should not be able to follow somebody. That's what I want. Andy, that's what I want. That's not the law.
Yet you refuse to acknowledge that Cyrus had a gun. Why are you refusing to acknowledge that Cyrus had a gun? The prosecution even acknowledged that Cyrus had a gun, but you won't acknowledge it. Why? Because it doesn't fit your narrative, your story, because you just want to be racist to Asians and be like, well, he had a gun.
Now let's talk about the fact we talked about the store and the things that happen inside of the store. And there might be questions, why did you guys keep bringing these things up? If you remember, I had the officer on the stand. Great officer, great investigator, great person. But I had him on the stand, and I was talking about firearms and 14-year-olds, and he went back and forth because I don't think they wanted to admit that this is a problem. But the thing that was the most important is I asked him about suspicious behavior. Did something look weird to you when you went back? And he didn't want to admit it. But use your own common sense on that. I asked him the direct question, looking back through your investigation, as you have gone through and looked at the full file and looked at everything now, do you find it weird, odd, suspicious that a young man will go into a gas station without any money, with an empty book bag, bullet in the chamber, and then was looking like he was taking stuff off of the counter? I don't find that suspicious. I find that answer suspicious. The reason we brought this up is not to suggest I don't know what Cyrus was doing. I don't. But use your common sense and ask yourself, that does seem strange. And the reason we bring that up is that would explain why Andy, who was sitting at the front counter, looking back, is watching this and going, he's acting strange. He's acting weird. He's putting water back up, water back up, water back up. It looked weird to me. And then he came up to the counter with his hands in his hoodie, and there looked to be something heavy in there. I didn't know what it was, and so I asked him, and he did this, and it looked like there was something heavy in there. It was the gun! Did Andy know it was a gun? Absolutely not. But you can understand why Andy would have said there's something strange going on. His behavior, something in a pocket, going weird with the water, that's what was strange.
What was that? A 14 with a gun? Being suspicious? But he didn't steal! Yeah, you just being racist to Asians because you don't want to actually watch the trial because it came up. They addressed it.
And don't forget, when the officer was talking and asking questions and he went back to the back to look at that video surveillance that they keep talking about. Do you remember how many times? He's like, I had to look at it 2-3 times. I had to zoom in on it. He had the technology to see what was taken. Andy had one time, and from his vantage point, something was going on. And so he followed him out the store. He ran after the store, whatever you want to call it. The rest of the story. And then Andy testified that he threw stuff out of his pocket. Remember, Mr. Scott said, you did not testify to that. I had to show 4 different times where Andy said he was throwing something out of his pockets. 4. And so he went after him. He followed him. He chased him. He's going after him the entire way.
I can hear so many and typing all your racist comments or posting your racist memes in my comments. You're not going to watch the trial. You're not going to watch 27 hours of footage to actually get the facts, because so many of you are just racist.
And then there's one last part that he, for some reason, has ignored. Let's say one of you, just one of you for argument's sake, are sitting back there and you say, you know what? I think they are at fault for bringing on the difficulty. It may not be legal, it may not be illegal, but I just don't like the fact that they follow him for 130 yards. I do not like the 130 yards. I do not like the 130 yards. Well, the judge is going to charge you on something on the law. And it's called withdrawal. Let me explain that concept to you. Let's say one of you start a fight. Let's say I start a fight with Mr. Scott. And let's say I go up to him and I say, I'm going to get you. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to hurt you. And I start the fight and I come at him. And I'm about to hurt him. And then all of a sudden I say, you know what? This is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. And I turn around and I'm like, oh, and Mr. Scott brings a knife and comes out. Well, according to their theory, I got to let him stab me. According to their theory, I got to let him hurt me, even though that I have withdrawn. Well, that is the law of withdrawal. If an individual says, if they withdraw by words or actions, their right to self-defense is back on the line. The rest of the story. And don't take my word for it, the judge is going to instruct you on the law, and that's one of the things he's going to talk about. So when we talk about the chase, when we talk about why did they run out of the store, when we talk about they shouldn't have gone out of the store, as I've told you, you legally have a right. The officer, their own witnesses told you, they legally have a right. This officer with 25 years of experience, dealt with shopping, dealt with this, and says, we prefer you not, common sense. But then there's a last part of that that wasn't on their little pretty board, the right to withdraw.
If you need evidence that people are being racist to Asians because of the verdict, because they didn't watch the trial, because they don't care about the damn facts about a 14-year-old boy having a gun, watch the next clip.
Catering orders, they might try to make you hold a call.
Well, we gonna try to do it.
Try,
We're gonna see.
this is for Cyrus.
Just what? I ain't know the man got off. That's crazy.
Yeah, say what the
That's crazy. That's insane.
Pickup order.
Yes, sir. What would you like?
Can I get your catering size of sweet and sour chicken,